Let me introduce you to dinner church. When we look at the earliest account of ancient church-going, we see that the early believers in Jerusalem were described as being devoted to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Now, we don't have the exact details of each of these elements, but one thing we do know for sure, and it is surprising when we compare to more recent traditions of worship, and that is the early Christians, when they met for worship, they met for a meal. This meal wasn't like a potluck after the church service, or it wasn't a midweek gathering in order to kind of create fellowship among the brothers and sisters in the church. Rather, it was the regular form of Christian gathering. The meals were not merely one sacramental part of a community or worship life, but the central act around or within which others, reading and preaching, prayer and prophecy, were arranged. Instead of adding communion to the other elements to make up a church service, the meal was the center of the gathering, and the other elements were added to the meal. Meals were central to the early church. Every day, they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising and enjoying the favor of all the people. They met for a meal. Dinner church is not simply like any other meal. Rather, it is the meal of the church. I'd like you to note the common pattern we find in the New Testament when we see that Jesus took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and ate. Furthermore, both Luke and Paul specify that Jesus took the cup after the meal, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it, in remembrance of me." Therefore, we bookend a dinner church with these two elements. We begin by breaking the bread and giving thanks, and waiting until the end of the meal for the juice. By placing the ritual in this way, the entire gathering becomes one communion service. There's no need to add the Lord's Supper or add communion at the end, for the whole meal, the whole gathering, is the Lord's Supper. During the supper, we read scripture, we pray, we talk about the scriptures, and we have a teaching time. It is a church service centered around the Lord's table. Beginning October 3rd, dinner church will take place every second Thursday. Our hope is that this might be a great opportunity for many who are not connected to reconnect to a church family, or maybe for people who have never been connected to a faith community to come to dinner church for the first time. Maybe you have friends or family that you think this might be a great place to bring them to. We invite you to bring them with you. We have postcard invitations ready for you to pick up at the church to hand out to such people. This will not be for everyone. Many of you have a really good routine, which includes coming to church on Sunday morning regularly, and that is great. You can think of this like a second worship service. You know how some churches might have a 9 a.m. service and then an 11 a.m. service, or maybe they have an additional Saturday evening service. That's kind of like what we're doing here. Cornerstone will have two services. One will be Sunday morning at 10 in the morning as usual, and the second one will be dinner church Thursdays at 6 p.m. Of course, we will need to have a pretty good idea of how many people are coming to the dinner church. So you can sign up to come online at our website or by sending an email to the church at office@cornerstonealliance.ca. Once dinner church begins, for the most part, our Sunday morning worship experience will not change, except for one thing. While we will continue celebrating the Lord's Supper weekly as a church community, when the dinner church falls on that Thursday, the Sunday will not have communion. So in other words, every second Sunday, we will be celebrating communion on Sunday mornings. And every second Thursday, we will have communion at dinner church. So thanks for watching. I want to ask you to pray for this and pray for opportunities for non-believers or for even believers who just have not been connected to a church for a long time, that this might be an opportunity for them to connect. And again, if you have any questions or comments, just email me and I will happily respond to every one of you.